There's really nothing more American than fishing. That is, unless you happen to be in Edo-era Japan, in which case it's actually very, very un-American, but not in any sort of negative connotation way. You see, times back then were very different. Boats really only let you do 1.5 actions per turn, and your nets could only hold maybe one prawn, which is pretty difficult to make a living off of. But sometimes it's fun to visit the past, and so we're going to be doing that today by taking a look at Eagle-Gryphon's new release, Isaribi.
Isaribi has players competing over the course of 5 rounds to be the player with the most money. Boats are used to head out to sea in search of the hottest seafood commodity of the season. The kicker is that with each round, a new ocean section is populated and new customers swarm the docks. Players have to carefully use their limited actions to determine what course of action is going to best suit their needs in regards to the market. Most of the clients are hidden information, and a full action has to be taken to reveal what's in demand. With players only starting with 1.5 actions, this takes up the majority of the turn, but you need money to improve your playing power. So selling fish gets you more money, which you can use to advance technology in the form of better nets and boat upgrades, as well as some very useful powers. At any point, a player can decide to leave the round, giving them first choice of a number of end-round bonuses and the first player marker. So it's this juggling timing competition where you have to figure out when the market is run dry and get out of the round first to take the best bonus, bearing in mind that no one else has to leave when you do. Visually, the whole production is dead on. Obviously, if you're not partial to this style of traditional Japanese art, you're not going to be won over by it, but the fact that it oozes into every facet of the game is pretty neat for me. In particular, I love that all the cards and instructions are both in Japanese and English. I have 2 sisters-in-laws that are Japanese, and this is something I'm sure they'd be completely comfortable with, assuming the translation is up to snuff, but that's something I'm not sure about. If I were to have any complaints with how the game looks, it's going to be with the boat colors. The choices are way too similar. In particular, the purple and brown are, in my opinion, pretty close to the same thing. A minor annoyance, but one that could have easily been avoided. While the lack of upgrades keeps the weight and complication of the game down, it also means that there's a good chance that all players will max out the potential of their boat. I also wish this had an official 2-player variant. As it stands, the publisher recommends both players just taking control of 2 boats, which, I don't know, doesn't feel right. But I'm willing to give it a fair shake in the future. We did try it with 2-player with the normal rules, but the market was far too flooded and the game is much tighter with the appropriate player count. And really, it shouldn't be a surprise that the box is correct on player count, but it really does come alive when you're in a race against time and resources with at least 2 other players. The game balances really well, making every decision critical, but not necessarily devastating if you make the wrong choice. What appeared to be a pretty bad slaughter after the first round in one of our games ended up with a 2-point difference between first and second. The fact that money is both resources that have to be used and victory conditions gives you a weight needed to keep things interesting when coming to a decision. What really gets me is the playtime. This manages to deliver a tight competitive market game in around an hour's time. We're talking middle of the road weight with easy to understand rules and quick playtime. I love getting a bit of depth without having to sacrifice an entire afternoon or game night. Like other games where you're put in charge of your own little piece of the game, there's a weird sense of accomplishment when you send your ship out into the sea. Upgrading vastly improves your ship, but causes you to lose victory points. As always, check your expectations against what this game is. If you happen to be in the mood for a light, medium-weight economics and market game that takes place in the Japan of yesteryear, then you are in luck. Personally, I really enjoy this game. Just about everything ticks for me except for the minor gripe on player colors and the wish for a more solid 2-player variant.